Hi, I'm here to talk about the Johnstown flood and who are to blame for the destruction of the dam. But before I start with that, I thought I should start with a little bit of the history of Johnstown, how it was during that time. Johnstown, Pennsylvania, back in 1889, was known as a steel company town. It was a growing industrial community with a population of about 30,000 people. Johnstown was founded in 1794 and it began to prosper with the building of the Pennsylvania Mainline Canal in 1834, the arrival of the Pennsylvania Railroad, and the Cambria Iron Company in the 1850s. Even if Johnstown, Pennsylvania was a growing town, there was one tiny problem living in it. This had been built on the floodplain at the fork of the Little Conomohue and Stony Creek rivers. On May 31st, 1889, the worst flood happened in this town, destroying thousands of lives. When the flood happened, it was owned by the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club of Pittsburgh. Now, are they to blame for that disaster that happened? There are many reasons why the dam broke out, and practically the main reasons that stick the most is that with the many rainfalls that are happening during that time and also the weak construction of the dam. I mean, the dam had already broke out twice in 1847 and 1862. And later on in 1875, John Raleigh bought the dam. He had this fantastic idea of removing the 5 sluice pipes, which would make the water more susceptible to overtopping and limited the options for safely removing water excess. Nice job, Riley. 4 years later, Riley sold it to Benjamin Ruff, who bought it in the name of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club of Pittsburgh. Adding to the problems that Mr. Riley over here already caused, the club inadequately patched the holes that caused the break of 1862. Decided to even have a more brilliant idea, like lowering the top of the dam just to make sure that 2 carriages could pass at the same time. And they put fish screens over the spillway to keep expensive game fish from escaping. Those screens helped out, alright? Helped with the clogging of the downpours, giving the dam the only option to overtop. Some of the causes that people say that the flood happened was because of negligence, bad luck, but at the end many people conclude that it was a series of downpours that was happening and nobody was doing anything to control the dam. What happened? At 3:09 p.m. the dam completely failed. It sent 3,600,000,000 gallons of water toward Johnstown. About 2,209 people were killed and 1,600 homes were lost. It was about $17 million in property damage. The members of the South Fork and Fishing Club left immediately after the disaster. No surprise there. A small crowd of angry survivors went into the club and committed vandalism by breaking windows and by destroying furniture. Well, of course, they had nowhere else to release their anger to. The people were turning their wraths on the South Fork and Fishing Club because not only were they the owners during that time, but also because the constructors who had built the dam were already dead. A survivor named X.J. Swank lost his wife and his 4 children in the flood. In return, next to their gravestones, he placed a sign that said, "Family of X.J. Swank, wife and 4 children drowned by the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club, May 31st, 1889. That's how angry the civilians were. After the tragedy, of course, one of the most notable members, Robert Pitcairn, donated about 1,000 blankets, and Andrew Carnegie donated $10,000. Later on, he built the Johnstown Library that later on became the Johnstown Flood Museum, which, in my personal note, I think you should really visit it. It's really, really nice. I've been there before, many years ago, but I really don't remember that much. But I remember I enjoyed it, and I was just a little girl. Now, returning to the question that I'm trying to answer. Is the South Fork and Fishing Club to blame for the disaster that occurred in 1889? In my opinion, yes. If the dam would have broken before they made all those changes, then I probably would not have held them that responsible. The person who chose the location in the first place was wrong, which was approved by William Morris in 1839. Ironically, he even said that it was the safest location possible. And then the constructors built a dam too weak, where the constructors were James Mohead of Pittsburgh and Hezekiah Packard of Williamsport. And then the continuous owners started ripping it apart, like Mr. Riley. Before the South Fork and Fishing Club came into the possession of the dam, the 5 sluice pipes were already missing. But it doesn't take the fact away that the club upgraded the old dam. They raised the water level and built cottages up in the mountain for their secret club. They are to blame because knowing what the dam has been through and the floods of water that have occurred before this big flood should have been a warning. But no, negligence is to blame here too. You would expect more than that from a high society of people, but of course, all they cared about was their own greed and comfort. So what if thousands of people die? At least people like Andrew Carnegie were living in wealth and comfort. I mean, definitely, these people were businessmen. They were people who were supposed to be smart. They were supposed to know how to run this kind of things. But no, all they cared about is their capital. All they cared about is how they could make more money. And that is something that's good. You have money. But you should care for the other civilians too. I mean, they'd done things without realizing the consequences it could have for others. Sure, they donated things. And sure, things like the American Red Cross came and helped the people from Pennsylvania, but all that could have been saved if only they didn't think of their own greed, think of upgrading their own needs, and they would have helped with the reconstruction of the dam and helping, like, covering the holes adequately, making it wider, not making the dam smaller. And yeah, I think they are definitely to blame because that's something that could have been prevented, but they didn't just because they were out there having fun and building more capital from it. Thank you.